here with Tony Burgess, who is a Havening trainer. He is also the head of trainer training for the Havening Techniques. He's a co-director of the Academy of High Achievers, and I'm going to be asking him some questions. So, hello Tony, thank you for attending this virtual interview.
It was actually 2012, September, and people already knew me as someone who worked with individuals who had trauma. So I was in a networking meeting and someone said to me, "What do you think of this Havening technique then?" And I thought, gosh, I don't know what Havening technique is. He says, "Well, it's great for treating trauma, and I've seen it demonstrated, and I thought you would know about it." And so I thought, well, maybe I ought to know about it. So I Googled it. There wasn't very much actually up on the web in 2012, but I got a hold of Ron's book, When the Past is Always Present. And that was my first real encounter with Havening, was reading about it in the book. And it was very scientific, and it sort of rang true for me in terms of the kind of neuroscience that was in there that I remember covering on my degree course in psychology many years before. So it was appealing to me from that credibility point of view. Whoever wrote this book clearly knew what he was talking about. And also the simplicity of the method was very appealing as well. I like to go for tools that are simple and get results. And of course, at that time, there really was only event havening. So I was reading about this one version of event havening, and it was actually, it's been modified by now because it was the sort of original version that's evolved since. But I thought, well, let's just work with my clients with their permission. They'd know that I hadn't been trained in it because there was no training at the time. But with their permission, we'd test out the tool and see what results we could get, knowing that we could always fall back on other tools in the toolkit if for whatever reason we didn't get any results. And then over a few weeks, I was working with a number of clients, and we managed to get some really great results with some long-standing, really severe traumas. And for me, that was enough for me to know that Havening was going to be part of my toolkit on an ongoing basis. And it was interesting, it was 2013, about April time, that an advert popped up on my LinkedIn page, and I realized it was an advert for the very first training in Havening techniques, and it was going to be in London. So I got myself on that, and that's where Ron Rudin had come over from the States, and there's Paul McKenna and Deborah Tom, psychologist, and they together presented it to the world, if you like, the first training. And yeah, just for me, it opened my eyes to the fact that the toolkit had expanded beyond event havening, and it had evolved. The technique had altered slightly by the time I was seeing it there in London. And I just realized that I could use it far more broadly than just to treat specific individual traumatic events, which is really how I'd used it up to that point. I mean, I was so grabbed by it, I ended up on the very next training in New York, where I was sort of helping facilitate. I got to pick Ron's brains a bit more on the science as well, and really been to so many events since, just expanding my knowledge, became one of the first practitioners and one of the first trainers, and I was just so delighted to be fully involved right from that early stage. Well, I felt that it really pinpoints where the encoding moment is, where the origins are, and gets at that moment very, very effectively. For me, that was the biggest appeal of it. It's like, okay, go to where this began, light up that area of the brain, send in the delta waves through Havening touch, and it does the work right where the origins of the problem, reside. I just feel like it's a very efficient way to get right in at the biological level.
I totally agree with you, Tony, because there are many methods such as Reiki, and I think much of it is all guesswork. It's kind of hit or miss. You come out feeling great, but you don't quite know why. But with havening, you literally can pinpoint it, you know what's changed, and more importantly, that that is a permanent change.
And the other thing I really like about it is that it's such a flexible tool in the sense that it can blend with whatever anyone is already doing well. So I blend in a lot of NLP, but I know a lot of other people will blend in the tools they've already got in the toolkit that are already working, and it just enhances the process of whatever they're already doing well.
Great, that's very good for any practitioners wanting to train in havening, so that they feel it can be part of their toolkit. Fantastic. So here we are in this virtual setting. So my question is, what is your first impressions, and how do you see the potential of virtual learning environments to support your work as a transformation healer, practitioner, havening practitioner?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I've never really been in this kind of virtual world in the way that you've introduced me today. I can see some real potential in it. I'm thinking about the next generation of people who are, growing up and becoming adults and in the workplace and need therapeutic work and so on. They're spending so much time in games and virtual worlds of one sort or another anyway. It would just be a very natural way to make it accessible for them. I feel like I'm sort of in a generation that grew up without this. I just feel like if we're going to be relevant to people, we need to adjust and flex and learn new things like this and see how effectively it can deliver to people who most effectively learn in this way.
I want to thank you for coming along and getting your first experience of virtual worlds. But if we needed to contact you for training or any of your services, where would you like people to contact you?
Oh yeah, they can go to our main website is www.aha-success.com. So aha-success.com. They'll find everything really there.
Thank you very much for your time, Tony, and I hope to see you in World soon, doing some seminars and workshops.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.